We're live.
Madam Mayor, it's 6:01 and we are live.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Tuesday, November 17th, regular City Commission meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mayor Pam Triolo,
Here.
Vice Mayor Andy Amoroso,
Here.
Commissioner Scott Maxwell,
Here.
Commissioner Herman Robinson.
Here.
Thank you.
Would everyone please rise for the invocation led by Commissioner Maxwell, followed by the pledge led by the Vice Mayor.
May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength to act honestly and well in all manners before us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll move on to additions, deletions, reordering. Madam City Clerk, do you have any?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Resolution 52, 2020 was added. It's under the consent agenda as item P.
And Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Robinson?
could we have some discussion on M under consent? I just,
Okay,
the third go around and,
You want to pull it?
yes,
so we'll pull M for discussions, which would move it to
New business item D.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by the Vice Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. All right, we'll move on to our presentations. First up, PBSO presentation by Captain Todd Bear.
Where is he?
Let's find him. There he is.
He's here.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor. We are back. I'm here on the Zoom call, and Lieutenant Lavinia is here in spirit on the city web link. Typically, I present either crime data or community policing, but in this 2020, with everything going on, we missed one somewhere. So tonight I'm doing a community policing and crime data combo. If you could put up my PowerPoint, is it up? If it is, I can't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it yet either. There we go.
There we go. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. As I said, tonight we're going to cover both community policing and crime data, and that'll get us back on track for the for moving forward.
Okay.
I'm also going to talk about our homeless action plan we created. Of course, I have our regular stuff, our overdose data, and our tag reader and camera program update, as well as the grant update. Next slide. Community policing. With everything that's gone on this year, we spoke to a lot of the community, and more importantly, we listened. And I was pleased to see that, you know, in a year where a lot of portions of the country are asking for less policing or defunding policing, every group we spoke to actually wanted more policing in Lake Worth. What they really emphasized was they want that old-fashioned beat cop, that community policing. So we're definitely placing an emphasis on community policing in Lake Worth Beach. We have made a few changes, which I believe are for the better. Another area we've listened to the neighborhood associations was we changed up how we were attending neighborhood meetings. And we were having them once a month with a representative talk to the lieutenant and I, which we're still going to continue. But most of the neighborhood residents said they missed having deputies at the meetings, even though right now they're virtual. So we've started attending those again with my community policing deputies in a virtual manner. And whenever the new normal is back, we will go back to attending them in person, as well as still having representatives meet with the lieutenant and I once a month as well. And we are continuing those virtually also. CP deputies were always assigned sectors, but now those same sectors, which roughly correspond with the neighborhoods in most cases, that will be the deputy that attends each of those meetings. So there'll be better communication between PBSO and the residents. Part of that old-fashioned community policing beat cop mentality is we've increased what we call PWT, or park, walk, and talk, getting the deputies out of patrol cars more often as calls permit. Hopefully you've seen more on bicycles and ATVs. We've even had the mounted police in several times, and they actually caught somebody doing vandalism or criminal mischief a couple months ago, which is pretty good. You're not a good bad guy if you get caught by 2 deputies on gigantic horses in broad daylight, but nonetheless, we caught that person. As I said, we met with a lot of the community leaders, from the clergy to our nonprofits to our neighborhood associations to city staff, and I believe we're on the right track in Lakewood Beach. Next slide. Some of the events we did, I'll cover more in detail as we go through the slides, but community engagement's been tough this year with COVID-19 hampering a lot of it. A lot of it's been virtual. We were fortunate to get in that large event at Memorial Park right before COVID hit, which was part of the DOJ grant. But since then, it's been tough. We're doing what we can virtually and safely from a distance when possible. I'll go into the homeless action plan a little further down. We've been doing a lot with the schools, and I'll cover that more on the next slide. We've been out there every Tuesday, along with a lot of city staff and elected, helping out with the Feeding South Florida distribution at the Hatch. That's been going well. Very impressive how organized it runs week to week. The holiday toy drive this year is definitely hampered by COVID. We had to cancel our golf scramble. Fortunately, we built up a reserve so that we'll still be able to purchase toys for the kids this year. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have the event at our district because of COVID. We're going to purchase them for all the elementary schools, wrap them, bag them, and get them to the schools before school lets out for the holidays. So it's kind of disappointing we can't do what we've always done, but I'm happy that, we're still going to get the toys out there, because for some of the kids, that's all they get. So I'm happy we had the reserves to be able to do that for them this year. We did 3 prostitution operations in the last couple months. It's been very successful. Kudos to the First Appearance Advocacy Group. They've been real big for us. The bonds, when they attend the court, the bonds have been $10,000 to $15,000. Some of them were still in after the second operation when we did the third one a couple weeks later. We've never seen that before. Typically, they're released the next morning on their own recognizance, and or shortly thereafter. So it was a great team effort, and hopefully you're noticing a difference. And we're also just wrapping up a large drug operation we did with the narcotics unit. Next slide. Here's some of the events. The one was, the top left was the recent event at City Hall. We were able to do that one in person safely, with social distancing and PPE. The guys enjoyed actually getting out and seeing people in person at the event. The top right is back to school. We've tried to be out there when the kids went back to school to, try to make them feel safe and embrace this new normal as much as we can right now. The bottom left was a really neat event. The mayor was there and Commissioner Maxwell helped set it up. The gentleman seated in the middle was turning 104. And we went out and gave him a birthday parade like for the young children. It was really neat. He was I believe he's the father-in-law of one of our local pastors. So that was a really cool event. God bless him. And then the bottom right is us interacting with some children at the beach. Next slide. There's some more at the schools. For everything going on, it's definitely a different experience for a young child. So we're trying to hit the schools as often as possible. And again, reassure the kids that, they're safe and try to make it as normal of a year as we can for them. Next slide. This one I'm really excited about to announce, and I got permission from Joan from the CRA and Ricky Aiken from Inner City Innovators to announce this today. I met Mr. Aiken actually at a protest for peace barbecue up at the old Scottish Rites Temple earlier in the year. And we were sitting in the same spot eating lunch, and I was really impressed with him and his story. And then he got up and spoke. He was one of the main speakers, and then I was definitely impressed. And I thought, you know, this is something we need in Lake Worth Beach. For those of you who don't know, he started a program up in West Palm where initially he had a rough childhood, and he had all kinds of issues that a lot of our kids face. And he turned it around through some mentoring, and he created this Hope Dealer program. And I don't want to go too far in detail, but he would probably be worth coming in and speaking one day. Joan Oliva from the CRA and I have been looking for a program to bring into the city for a couple of years now. She has a property available, and she had some funding, and we were having trouble finding the right program. And when I heard him that day, I knew this was it. It fills a much needed void in this area. Everybody does a lot of programs for young kids, but Ricky focuses on guys and girls age 14 to 24. He focuses on the most at-risk kids. He'll tell you 40% of his West Palm group have been shot. They all know friends that have been killed, and he's turning him around through being a role model and a mentor. So we're trying to put this together. The location will be on 1213 Lake Avenue. It's a building that's been sitting vacant for probably 20 years. The next slide will show you a rendering. The top left is what it looks like now, and the other two are artist renderings of what we would like it to become. Again, I just put Ricky in contact with Joan. This is their effort, so I don't want to take credit. But they're looking at renovating that building and putting the program on the first floor, and then using the second floor for art lofts, and the third floor is like an open patio. It looks really nice. It's one of his quotes that Ricky uses that I really like is that change occurs when those who need it lead it. And that's one of the things I really like about the program. So hopefully this keeps rolling, and we can get this program up and running in Lake Worth. Next slide. Here was our homeless action plan. The homeless situation started to spike this year. We've been working closely with the Lewis Center, some of the nonprofits, and the Palm Beach County hot team. And we quickly realized we were not going to be able to wrest our way out of this, nor should we. And we placed several people so far in somewhat permanent housing. We developed a lot of great relationships with the people at the Lewis Center and the Palm Beach County's hot team. And we've got a long way to go, but we are making progress. Some of the ones we placed are the ones you see panhandling every day at the 95 exits. So I'm very happy that we're finding somewhat permanent solutions to a very large social problem. Next slide. Crime data. We started off the year, the first 6 months were very rough, probably likely contributed to COVID and the shutdowns and the economy and such. But the first half of the year, we had a good spike, especially in areas such as robbery, auto burglary, and larceny, which encompasses everything from shoplifting to bicycle thefts. We were up quite a bit. I'm pleased to say that our year-to-date numbers as of last Monday, when I had to send this in, we're sitting much better, in a much better position. Violent crime for the year is up 1.52 as of 11/9. Property crime is actually down now, 9.61. And some of those areas I mentioned that were up in the beginning of the year are now down. Robberies, for the first time in over a year, have come down at this point below, as well as auto burglaries and larcenies. Residential burglaries are down quite a bit. And again, that might be partially due to the shutdowns, more people at their houses for much of the year. And then auto thefts, if you remember, were up a bit last year, and this year they're down quite a bit. On a couple different occasions, my deputies have mentioned that some of our known criminals have mentioned they don't like to drive through Lake Worth with stolen cars anymore because of all of our tag readers. So there was a little delay, but that program is definitely working now. Word is out. Next slide. Overdoses have been somewhat steady from the year before, and you've all been here a long time to know that the numbers are down significantly from 5 years ago when I returned here as the captain. They're almost in half, I believe, but you will see that September this year, we had quite a spike. If it's too small, it's that high red number this year. We had, I believe, 38 overdoses in September as compared to 20 in September of the previous year. The fatals are down probably because of Narcan and such, but we're still getting a lot of overdoses. October was better than September, but still higher than previous 5 or 6 months. So we're doing better, but we still have a ways to improve on that. I am noticing I haven't gotten any sober home complaints in quite some time. So that's also a positive. Next slide. With the ALPR or tag reader camera program update, we now have 44 areas covered. And in most of those areas, there's multiple cameras or multiple views. So we've got every hotspot covered, and we even have areas that aren't as hot, that they're just high traffic areas and places like downtown and the beach and such. So we have plenty of cameras, and now we have ALPRs or tag readers at every ingress and egress point in the city. So that program is stacked and complete, and now we're in the maintenance phase. Just some of the data. We were the pilot program, so it was easy at first, but now we do have programs in other parts of the agency, and the Real-Time Crime Center does not break it down by district, but we do have a good chunk of it, and these are their for the whole area, for the whole agency. They have 1,069 vetted tag reader hits this year. We've recovered 103 vehicles throughout the agency, and again, we're a good chunk of those. And they've assisted in almost 500 arrests, and they've referred 900 calls to deputies where they see some sort of suspicious activity that they then call out on the radio to a deputy to go and handle. So it's an effective program. Again, we were the pilot, and we're still the busiest, but it's effective all over the agency. Next slide. The grant update, we're currently in year 2, which is the first year of the implementation phase of the grant. COVID-19 is definitely affecting the community involvement aspects of the grant. We have returned to having our leadership council meetings virtually. We have one tomorrow, and that has representatives from all over the city, from citizens to staff, to clergy, to nonprofits, to us, to county agencies, Southeast Behavioral Health. So there's a lot of people at the table. It's definitely not as good to be meeting on Zoom as it is in person, but we're making do. A big aspect of the implementation phase is money's been set aside for suppression details to suppress violent crime in the grant area. We've, and I believe that's a big reason why we've been able to knock down the crime spike that started off the year. It coincides when we got that funding, it coincides with the crime going down. What we do is on busy nights like Fridays and Saturdays, I'm able to put out several extra deputies and a supervisor, and we put them in the typical hotspots where violent crime occurs. And to date, we have not had one violent crime occur while they were working their detail. So it's been very effective. We just obtained, our Violent Crimes Division obtained an FDOT impaired driving grant, which they're going to implement in District 14, Lake Worth Beach. And that's going to start in the next fiscal year. And it's $75,000 for extra patrol for DUIs. So I'm looking forward to that because that is also one of our issues. Next slide. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Commissioner
Can't
Robert?
see you.
I know, it's hard to see.
Just, you mentioned, geez, I'm looking over there.
I know, I'm confused too.
The grant area for the last grant above the traffic impaired was CBCR grant.
Yeah,
You mentioned an area. Does that cover the city or is it a specific area in the city?
yes, good question. The Department of Justice CBCR grant is the Community-Based Crime Reduction Grant. That is the one we're near 2 of 3. The grant area for that runs from 10th Avenue North south to the Lantana city limits and from I-95 to Federal Highway. So it's a large rectangle through the middle of the city. It covers each of the 4 voting districts, at least a portion of them. And that is where we chose that area because 85% of our violent crime occurs in that rectangle.
Federal Highway, does that cover east and west side of Federal Highway?
Yeah, we take the whole Federal Highway, any address.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also very excited, Captain. Thank you so much. Good news all around and proud to see what you guys, I noticed the difference in people in the community are really reacting to the different approach to community policing. And they're really, it's the thing that people always say, we just want to see you more. We want that FaceTime. We want to see you on the streets. We want to see you walking, not just the cars passing by and whatever, but we know you're busy, but having that arm directly to the residents of this community and the business owners in this community is so wonderful. And people really seem to be, like I said, reacting well. Also had the privilege of meeting Ricky Aiken at that same event that you were discussing, and had a long discussion with him about bringing the program here to Lake Worth Beach. So when I heard what you and Joan were working on, it was exactly what I had been speaking with him about that night. So I couldn't be more thrilled. And it's a very exciting time. And I'm proud of our PBSO here in Lake Worth Beach. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a few comments. So the inner city program, you and Joan, that's great. Joan and I have been talking about what to do with that location for a long time. And I'm happy that two of you could partner and make that happen with the inner city program. The HOT team does great work out there. I sit on the transportation, which covers housing for the Florida League of Cities. And we on a regular basis talk about housing. And one of my biggest thing that I keep putting out there, and I'm going to put it out there again, is the wraparound services. A lot of people have housing programs for these people, but just because you give a roof over their head does not help them with the mental illness, the other wraparound services that they may need. As we do our feeding program, I see a lot of that. There's other needs that these people need other than just a house or a roof over their head. So, I'll keep beating that. And hopefully with our partnerships, we can help with some of the other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Captain Bear, thank you again to you and your team. And looking at the crime stats, which is kind of, you're looking at data, it's kind of boring and sometimes it makes your eyes bleed, but it's really encouraging to see most of our statistics going in the right direction in terms of reduction of crime. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the COVID issue, as far as violent crimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes if people are in close quarters like that and they're not normally used to it, and the way we've had to deal with things for the last 6 or 8 months, I'm sure some folks have got on each other's nerves or whatever. So it's unfortunate, but the increase was only a 1.5 points, which is a 1.5 points too much. But all things considered, I think those are pretty darn good numbers. So thank you all very much. I know you guys work your tails off, and I'm really thankful that we're getting back into the community policing issue. I think that's going to be really, really important for us. And I think it's going to pay dividends for us as we go on into the future. So again, thank you to you and your team. You guys are the best, and we're glad to have you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And the community policing thing, I really, the guys are enjoying it as well, the old style community policing. And it's not that we weren't doing it. It's just sometimes you need to hear and go back to where it all started. A lot of it has to do with the intelligence-led stuff with the tag readers and cameras and such. You got to remember, at times we just have to do that old-style policing additionally. So we're doing both. And yeah, it's been a very tough year for everybody. It's been a particularly tough year for law enforcement. So all the guys and girls are in good spirits, and the crime date is only the halftime. It's only, we've still got, a few more months to reduce it down for the end of the year numbers.
Okay, well, before you go, could you stick around for the next item, Captain?
Sure.
Okay, because I have a proclamation to read. Whereas the sworn officers and citizen employees of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, PBSO, play an important role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of citizens in our city. And whereas there have been far too many recent national headlines about police officers being attacked and having to defend themselves, resulting in multiple injuries and fatalities of police officers. And whereas each loss of a law enforcement officer is heartbreaking and a cry for peace and a signal to all of us in Lake Worth Beach and everywhere to pray for our men and women in uniform who protect our communities each day. And whereas PBSO deputies continually treat all persons equally and would not hesitate to risk their own lives in order to save the lives of others. And whereas PBSO's commitment to continued training, skill enhancement, integrity, and interagency coordination make them vital members of our community. And whereas acts of kindness and appreciation from the citizens of Lake Worth Beach for our deputies provide them needed encouragement and support to confront the dangerous and uncertain situations that can happen at any time on any day. Now, therefore, I, Pam Triolo, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim, recognize, and thank the fine deputies of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office on the 17th day of November 2020. We want to thank you for your faithful and loyal devotion to our community and encourage citizens of the Lake Worth Beach area to join this commission in expressing appreciation for all of our brave men and women in uniform.
Here, here.
Thank you so much.
All right, we've got one more too, if you can, one more.
Of course.
Whereas the First Appearance Advocacy Group volunteers serve on the front lines of the battle against crime, and especially with the problems of prostitution on the streets of the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas prostitution is a serious and recurring crime in Lake Worth Beach. And whereas prostitution negatively impacts the quality of life for the citizens of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas the First Appearance Advocacy Group has worked with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office to make a difference by helping to get the arrestees mapped out of the problem areas or held with higher bonds. And whereas the partnership with PBSO has helped reduce the prevalence of prostitution activity in Lake Worth Beach. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach owes a debt of gratitude to Chip Guthrie, Tammy Panza, Richard Gercio, and Carl Stovland, and others in our community for attending these First Appearance court hearings that are held every day at 9 a.m., even on the weekends. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach joins with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office to thank these individuals for their dedication to this important cause. Now, therefore, I, Pam Triolo, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim our gratitude to Chip Guthrie, Tammy Panza, Richard Gercio, and Carl Stovland this 17th day of November 2020 in the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and encourage other citizens of the city to join them in this very important endeavor. Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the privilege to talk to Chip just before the meeting. I didn't know if he was aware of this proclamation. I want to thank him again, and he brought it to my attention, though he didn't need to, that I think it's very important that we all recognize you, Captain Bear, because you were the and the motivating factor, if you will, back in the day to get this program launched, and you've stuck with it. And Chip and Carl and Others have all, Richard, they've all stuck with it. Tammy, they've all stuck with it through all this, and all the other volunteers. And it's paying off. It's paying off. And I think from what I'm hearing, the judges are getting the message that Lake Worth Beach is serious about it. Our residents are serious. And I think my sense is that they're getting a little tougher as time moves on with these folks. So again, we can't thank you enough for your leadership in this area and helping these folks be organized and getting them notified, if you will, when it's time to go down and do what they do so well. And that is advocate for the citizens of Lake Worth Beach. So thank you again very much.
Thank you. I just want to mention that, as I said earlier, without them doing it, most likely the girls will be right back on the street. And we unfortunately give them very short notice for operational security reasons. We can't let them know about it until the operation's over. So they usually only have the evening before for notice. And oftentimes it is on the weekends. And there hasn't been one time that they didn't send somebody to the first appearance. So that's impressive because they're doing it as volunteers. So I just want to thank them again.
And we're blessed. We have a great community here.
Thank you so much. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, and Captain, I wanted to thank you too. I remember the day that you and I traveled to West Palm Beach to meet with the top brass at Sheriff Bradshaw's office, trying to come up with some out-of-the-box ideas. And this was one of the ones that actually stuck and we were able to use. So I want to thank you. That was a while back and it took us this long, but we can actually see the results. So, you know, it's about the partnerships and working together. So I want to thank you and your staff and those volunteers that get up early in the morning to go and fight the fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, I just, again, well, first of all, thanking you for the community policing and all the guys and women that go out and meet the community. But the first appearance group is a citizen-led involved people, and it makes a difference how important it is for citizens to get involved in their own safety and well-being. I know more inner city activity, you know, when crimes happen, nobody's witness to it because there's a lot of circumstances. But this group really demonstrates the importance of citizen involvement. And I want to thank all of them very much.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Robinson, you're going to have to raise your hand high because this purple thing is it's hard to see. Okay, thank you again, Captain. And thank you again to all of our PBSO partners. Okay, moving on to item D. This is the presentation to communications and electric utilities. Just some information that I want to share at this point. I want to acknowledge our electric utility department, who was recently recognized by the Florida Municipal Electric Association with the Building Strong Communities Award for offering our community extra services and programs beyond those normally supplied. Lake Worth Beach was recognized for our customer outreach program and our partnership with Palm Beach County School District in the school Wi-Fi project. I also want to recognize Lauren Bennett and the city's communication team for helping to compile the necessary documentation to submit in order to secure this most prestigious award. Efforts related to the COVID-19 pandemic were recognized. The City of Lake Worth Beach Electric Utility suspended utility cutoffs on March 18th, 2020. Knowing that just suspending the cut was only a partial solution, the energy audit team and other members of our customer service teams pivoted their roles to provide residents who would have been cut off or who were displaying signs of a potential future cutoff, assistance in applying for funding through the CARES Act and other funding opportunities that had become available. Throughout the pandemic, this team reached out tirelessly to residents and assisted them in their applications. And to date, they have secured 195 grants totaling $91,377 for customers in need, and have submitted a further 700 applications that are currently being processed. In addition, our team recognized that residents who were in this predicament may struggle to pay off their balance in the future. And so they made 8,667 phone calls. They were able to assist 1,274 residents with getting onto a payment plan so as to reduce the burden. Between these two actions, our team has successfully been able to minimize the number of customers at any risk of having their utilities shut off. Here in Lake Worth Beach, our citizen-owned electric utility serves all of Lake Worth Beach's residents. For 107 years, Lake Worth Beach Electric Utility has made it possible for residents of Lake Worth Beach to own and control their energy future while receiving affordable, reliable, and environmentally responsible power. We are proud of this collaborative effort, first for the electric utilities effort during the pandemic, and of course, our communications team for assisting in securing this award. Talk about great teamwork, right? All right. Let's move. Yes.
I just really, I want to mention the contribution they make to the general fund as well. That we can't forget that they're a big part of the big team of Lake Worth as a whole.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, you want to start us off on commission liaison reports, Commissioner Robinson? Will you have the mic?
Well, I want to welcome everybody to WWW Lake Worth Beach, which is wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance, because the COVID is really not going away anytime soon. And it's serious, and I don't want anybody to suffer a death by COVID. I want to thank Leisure Services for their Veterans Day production of video and all the work that they put into produce videos to market Lake Worth Beach. I guess I'm looking forward to the on-street dining. I don't know, however you want to call it, the outside dining in downtown Lake Worth being a whole lot better than construction cones. I'm hoping that we get some planters and some aesthetics, maybe some attractive lighting, but to emphasize the need to not be inside and tight together, but to be outside and in the air. The Thanksgiving is next week, and we have a lot to be thankful for. And I think we should all count our blessings even in the times that are the toughest for the COVID and for lots of other angst that the nation is going through. We need to give thanks for all the blessings that we have. And our people that serve our community, PBSO, the fire, and city staff, in fact. I want to wish everybody a wonderful, meaningful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to start by thanking the CRA and their staff. Even though we are dealing with COVID, the CRA has creatively continued to try to do some of the events and bring the laughter and the positivity to the downtown and to the city of Lake Worth Beach. The Day of the Dead event is coming up. They've done some movie nights, but very distant, very COVID friendly. Small Business Saturday is coming. I want to remind people to shop small. There's even more of a need now than before. And want to thank staff for the Veterans Day event. Again, it wasn't what we were used to, but it was part of, I think, what is the new norm right now. I continue to have a lot of Zoom meetings for all the boards that we sit on, but the Florida League of Cities actually met in person. It was a great event, very distant as far as COVID, and we were very healthy in keeping, our masks on and doing what we needed to do. The National League of Cities Conference is virtual. It actually starts tomorrow. Palm Beach County League of Cities Board meets tomorrow. We've had meetings with the Sober Home Task Force, with other boards that have been continuously to meet virtually. The food distribution on Tuesday is going to continue through Christmas. Originally, we were going to the end of November, but there's still quite a need, and we're going to try to go, and right now we're going through Christmas, and we'll play it by ear there. I know Commissioner Maxwell is working on a food distribution, but as we get closer, now that we're closer to Thanksgiving, our next food distribution will start including some of the needs that you need for Thanksgiving. We also have with Buchan and Grotto Restaurant, they have left us 250 non-perishable boxes in our warehouse that we can distribute with Thanksgiving goodies in it. So we're just trying to fill those gaps and fill the need. I want to apologize for my big purple thing tonight. I had hand surgery today and didn't want to miss the meeting. So here I am with my big purple thing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Commissioner Robinson said, we all know that we're heading into the holiday seasons, and this year has just really been such a strange and challenging year for everybody. So I'm going to try to keep it very light and festive. I don't know that we had spoken publicly about the opportunity we had here a couple of weeks ago to go around town on the bus and to, I hate to use the word judge. That sounds so.
I know.
But to critique, if you will, some homes in the city that were decorated for Halloween. There were 4 or 5 different categories, and we had probably about 20 or so, 30. Was it 30? I'm not sure. It was a lot of homes.
It's
A lot
20.
of homes that participated in the contest. There's some really great decorators out there, some very creative Halloween themes. And we had so much fun that we tasked Lauren Bennett and company to do the same thing for Christmas. So I'm hoping that everybody that's listening will really go overboard this year with your exterior Christmas decorations, because we will be coming around, checking our list twice, so to speak, and judging homes or critiquing homes, if you will, for the Christmas decorating contest. So I'm really looking forward to that. Also, as many of you know, many of you are very familiar with the Farmer Girl restaurant on North Dixie Highway. What you may not know is that recently the restaurant has been taken over by Peter, the former owner, his nephew Petro.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, thank goodness, they're going to reinstitute this year the Thanksgiving tradition that Peter had done for so many, many years. So they'll be serving Thanksgiving dinner all day on Thanksgiving for those who need a little bit of help. And if you'd like to volunteer, I think I will be there for a bit. You can give Farmer Girl a phone call, and they don't know that I'm doing this, but I'm going to give them a shameless plug with a phone number, and that's 582-0317, and see if they've got a time slot just for you, so you can help out for a little bit on that very special day. It's a really cool thing they do, and I'm so thankful that the tradition has been brought back. Also, I've had the good pleasure to partner with a local landowner and the Palm Beach County Food Bank, and we're going to be in a position to give away 1,200 turkeys and 1,200 grocery bags on Saturday, this coming Saturday at the Hatch. I'm working directly with about 8 or 9 local organizations, churches, nonprofits, if you will. And this is each one of the organizations was given an allotment, if you will, of vouchers, if you will, for the turkeys or whatever. So it will be a vouchered event. But I wanted to thank Joan at the CRA for allowing us to use the hatch, because when you do something of this magnitude, it just takes a lot of space, a lot of time, a lot of energy. She's been very, very helpful. And they've got it down to a science, as Captain Bear said. They've got the whole Tuesday, food distribution thing down to a science. So it was really an easy transition for her to allow us to do this on Saturday. So thank her so much when you see her. However, we do need some volunteers over the next couple of days, Thursday and Friday particularly. The dry goods will be delivered to the hatch on Thursday, and we really could use some volunteers to help us pack the bags. We're going to have to pack 1,200 bags of dry groceries for distribution on Saturday morning. And Cheryl Raskin has graciously stepped up to help with the volunteer coordination. And she's really going to be disappointed when I give out her phone number, but here it goes. It's 601-1328. So if you have a little bit of time on Thursday or Friday, or both days for that matter, if you wouldn't please just give Cheryl a real quick call and let her know what hours you're available. We'd very, very much appreciate your help. Even if it's just for an hour or so, we'd really, really appreciate that. And the last thing I want to mention is there's been, quite a bit of conversation in the community about when the commission is going to act on the commission vacancy. And I'm waiting anxiously to hear back from staff in terms of when we might want to deal with that and what the process is going to be and everything. So I think that's all I've got. Oh, that's not all I have.
Okay.
I want to make sure I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I think Commissioner Robinson said it best. As challenging as this year has been, we still have many, many things to be thankful for. And we just really need to be thankful for the things that we do have and never forget that in these challenging times. So thank you all very much and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. If I may, I think I'm still under the anesthesia because I forgot the most important thing that was on the top of my list. So today we lost two of our friends in the county commission, both Commissioner Valashe and Commissioner Berger retired today. And I just want to wish them best in their retirement. And they will be missed. They were good friends to Lake Worth Beach. And the two commissioners that are stepping in are two very good friends, and I think they will carry on. But I just wanted to wish them a very happy retirement on behalf of Lake Worth Beach. Thank you.
I think you've spoken for us all. Thank you again for your service. You have one more too there, Commissioner Robinson?
No, not a comment, but I didn't know that staff was part of the decision process for District 2.
Can I?
All right, you know what? I haven't even given my, I haven't even given my comments. Yeah, thanks. Okay. So the ones that I wanted to thank everyone for the Veterans Day. Let me tell you something. Our Leisure Services Department stepped it up and elevated this in the middle of a global pandemic. I mean, I could not believe what an amazing job they did in coordinating this and broadcasting throughout the whole day. We were honored to have the honor guards from PBSO and from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, the pipe and drum, 21 gun salute. Well, actually it was called a volley salute. And it scares me every time that thing goes off. I jump like 10 feet high. But we also had our local American Legion. We had just so many friends that came out. We didn't publicize it in the mass ways that we normally do for our cemetery event that we usually have, but it was really important. We mentioned the names of local Lake Worth High School faculty and students and residents of our community that went to Lake Worth High that served and lost their lives in serving our country in a multitude of wars, and names to be added. It was a very humbling and a very poignant event. And having, been part of the commission that brought back our Veterans Day celebrations, parades, and events, I'm proud we were able to do it the honor and justice that it deserved with the restrictions that we're currently going through. And I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners for being there and for helping with all of that. one of the items, TPA, as for right now, is always every year, November, they don't have a meeting, so we're off for that. I'm so grateful for Farmer Girl. I can't wait to meet I'll be volunteering then. I'll help him cook too. I'll do whatever he needs me to do. I want to thank my fellow commissioners. These last few months have been here, but these last few months have certainly been trying in so many different ways. But as we approach Thanksgiving, I want to just give you thanks for all the programs and volunteering that you've done and all of our people in our community. I mean, that Tuesday program, it is like clockwork. I mean, the way that thing runs, and Andy, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Robinson, and myself, we've all been out there on different times doing things. Andy, you're there every Tuesday. And you also do the program with Buchan and with, Grotto and all that. And they've even got me cooking too. I'm cooking and dropping off food, literally my own home cooked food to people throughout the community. They're going through challenges for the last several months. So, I'm honored to be a part of a commission that cares so much about the community and that gives back and puts their hearts out there. This is a season of Thanksgiving, of being grateful, of forgiveness, and also just for just celebrating one another and the glorious achievements that we've made despite our challenges. And that's the true meaning of a good community. And our residents know better than anybody else. We may get a little sassy with each other once in a while, but anyone else says anything about us, whatever, we come out together and we stand behind one another. And that's what I love about this city. So anyway, thank you all so very much. Okay, so now we're going to move on to public participation of non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Madam City Clerk. Madam City Clerk, I can't hear you.
Oh, I already read it, so I'm sorry. No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. There's only one comment from Matthew Van Borthesen. And he said, "Good evening and thank you for your service. I recently attended a lane repurposing workshop put on by the Palm Beach County Transportation Planning Agency. My takeaway is that with a few tweaks, US 1 could be drastically improved. I put out a poll on nextdoor.com to see how much support there would be to convert one through lane in each direction to a combination of left turn lanes, dedicated spaces for bus stops, pedestrian islands for mid-block crossings, a tree-lined median, wider sidewalks with shade trees and street parking. 20 people responded as of Monday, November 16th at 10 a.m. 80% expressed support for making at least some changes to US 1, with 55% saying they supported everything I proposed or more. Only 15% wanted to keep US 1 as is. Meanwhile, the research has shown overwhelmingly that when we repurpose lanes in the manner I proposed, the positives drastically outweigh the negatives. I think that it's enough evidence to warrant an official invitation for public comment and a discussion among the commissioners about if and how to proceed. I'm asking the commission to please add this to your next meeting agenda and invite the public to give their input. Thank you. Matthew Van Borsen, hard work, pray harder. Work hard, pray harder. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Consent agenda. Remember, we pulled that one item.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by the Vice Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to our public hearing. This is item A, ordinance number 2020. I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Yes, Madam Mayor, that has been moved to the December 1st meeting under public hearings.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to hear the meeting. We're going to hear that public meeting on the 1st.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't scratch it out. We're moving then to new business item A. City Attorney, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Ordinance number 2020-15, an ordinance of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 23 Land Development Regulations by amending Article 1 General Provisions, Division 2 Definitions, Section 23.1-12 definitions, Article 4 development standards, Section 23.4-15 cemeteries, mausoleums, and columbariums, Article 4 development standards, Section 23.4-19 outdoor storage, Article 4 development standards, new Section 23.4-22 parking, storing, or keeping of commercial vehicles in non-residential districts, Article 4 development standards, Section 23.5-11-12 temporary signs, Article 6 environmental regulations, Section 23.6-1 landscape regulations, Article 6 environmental regulations, and creating a new Section 23.6-1 K15 artificial turf of the city's code of ordinances, and providing for severability, the repeal of laws and conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second it with the understanding that we're going to talk about the artificial turf on December 1st.
city manager. Did you hear what Commissioner Robinson said?
You can talk about it now.
Well, I think in all fairness.
I just need a second.
Yeah, he said,
You seconded it? Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Seconded for discussion, I think is what he was trying to say.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Robinson.
Well, it's a touchy subject, apparently. I am not a proponent of artificial turf, but I do like fairness in our ordinances and regulations. And I don't think that we should just unilaterally or in a knee-jerk fashion reject artificial turf. And I think the public was interested enough to have more input, which I value. And we could put that part of the off till December 1st.
Okay. Vice Mayor? Are you raising your hand or is that just your?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just have to keep it.
Could you put your hand down, please?
Put your hand up.
I'll waive this one, not that one.
All right. William, did you want to do a presentation?
Well, I'm Mayor and Commissioners, William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. Aaron's going to give the presentation, but on the direction that you just gave, if the commission so wishes to discuss the artificial turf separately, it likely will have to go to a workshop. It will last longer than 30 minutes. And I think December 1st is actually a regular meeting. If you want it brought back its first reading as an ordinance, I don't believe we're going to have time to get it advertised correctly. So what would be your pleasure, bringing it back at an official workshop or discussing it at more length at a second reading on the 1st?
Commissioner Robinson, then Vice.
William, I hope that you shouldn't assume that we can make a decision in less than a half an hour. So I don't, but
The comments we have on artificial turf probably will take about 30 minutes in and of themselves just to read.
Vice Mayor?
I wanted to kind of know the pros and cons. The only thing that I've really heard from people is they would like to be able to have artificial turf on their balconies, on their back porches, things like that. Is that out of the question, William? You know, what
That's not even governed by the LDRs. If you want to put carpet on your front porch, I don't recommend it. It would not be very bright idea, but our LDRs don't prohibit that. There may be a building code issue, on the other hand. The artificial turf discussion is about artificial turf being installed on the ground.
Okay, so I think that's a confusion that we're dealing with. I have no problem passing this ordinance if it does not stop people from, we have a lot of rental properties that are balconies, second, third, fourth floor, that they would like to put artificial turf on. We have a lot of screened in back patios that they either have artificial turf or they would like to have out. That's what the only ones I've heard from residents, unless Commissioner Robinson has heard something different.
I've heard something different. I've heard mixed bags of both of, on both sides of the issue. Number one, there's a certain group of people that believe that it shouldn't be on the ground, and environmentally it's not the right choice to do that. It's a plastic product on the ground. And, depending on the quality of what product it is you buy, some of them have advantageous and some of them have a disadvantage environmentally. I've also heard from people that, that want to put a putting green in their backyard and do things like that with artificial turf. Some of the products that have been made, I'm just learning about this now that I've been doing a little research, are impervious or pervious. There's both. There's dog products out there where the animals can even go to the bathroom on it because it actually has a filtration system and it goes through it. I think that the issue was that the people that were being, I think, on the negative side of the issue was more like in the front yard, along the sidewalks and the houses. I think, is that, William, what you think that the issues were? I mean, could somebody do something if they want to put a putting green in their backyard, or they want to put paver stones or whatever? Is that covered in this?
I'll let Aaron get into more detail on it, but essentially the proposal doesn't allow the artificial turf in the front yard except for under very specific circumstances. But the preponderance of public comment about not allowing it is regarding the front yard, but also the environmental and sustainability concerns as it being a petroleum-based product.
Gotcha. Yeah. And are all of them petroleum-based products?
Yes, I mean, they're all a form of plastic of some kind. So,
All right, you want to do your presentation?
Technical presentation, Madam Mayor, if you'd like, I can walk you all through it.
I would like that, thank you.
Is it on the whole thing, or?
It is on the whole thing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just go ahead and just go straight to the first slide. Most of these items are part of the series of amendments out of the artificial turf was requested by Commissioner Robinson for discussion purposes. I'll walk you through the entire section, and then we can go straight into the technical components related to the artificial turf. Or would you like me to go straight to artificial turf?
No, I'd prefer you put all your time in for this entire presentation. Let's go through it, please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So this item actually went to 3 advisory board meetings. It received unanimous approval of the ordinance excluding Exhibit G, which Exhibit G contains the artificial turf changes. Because we had some feeling that it might be controversial, we put everything related to artificial turf in one exhibit. So depending on what the board wanted to do, you could pull it out and move it as you saw fit. The Planning and Zoning Board declined to make a formal action, citing the need for additional public discussion. The Historic Preservation Board recommended denial, but of the artificial turf. But if approved, the HRPB requested that all the applications in a historic district would require a certificate of appropriateness. And we did update that change in your backup, and that is reflected in the ordinance you see before you have in your packet. The tree board actually requested to review artificial turf. They do not have formal review of LDRs, but they requested just to review Exhibit G, and they voted unanimously not to allow artificial turf in the city. And they have requested, there are 2 public comment letters and an editorial article that were emailed to you, and the city clerk has those as well, related to their comments and concerns for artificial turf. So moving forward, Exhibit A and D, these are related. These are related primarily to commercial vehicles in non-residential areas, not in residential areas, only non-residential areas. And basically what we needed is some clear requirements. So if you have a commercial vehicle that is less than 8,000 pounds, and a vehicle of this size at the high end would be approximately an F350 at its largest kind of configuration. It would have a logo, address, telephone number. Those would be commercial business or service vehicles category. And then we have a second category, which is a medium and heavy duty commercial vehicles or construction vehicles. And these are extremely very large vehicles. They also include trailers or vehicles that have open or unconcealed loads of equipment, cargo, tools. And again, these are heavier, much heavier commercial vehicles. So we really saw that there were two classes of commercial vehicles that we were dealing with in the city. So with the requirements is we basically said in our mixed use districts, you could have some of these commercial business or service vehicles. They shouldn't take up more than 25% of your site plan or your required parking. And you needed to be able to show that you had adequate parking for your customers, that those vehicles would be okay. But these larger vehicles, we wanted to make it clear that those were really outdoor storage and were really should only be permitted in the IPOC district. Exhibit B is related to cemeteries, mausoleums, and mausoleums. This is just some additional use and site development requirements. They're pretty minor. Trees, some walls and fencing details. Exhibit C, this was related to outdoor storage, specifically outdoor open air operations, including outdoor display. We just had a need for clear regulations in this particular area in the LDRs. Again, in Exhibit E, we saw a need for allowing for additional banner style signage when we have newly constructed buildings or substantially renovated buildings. We had a very small allotment for temporary signage for building grand openings that was inconsistent with what other jurisdictions allowed. We basically came up consistent, similar to what a West Palm Beach or another jurisdiction in our area might allow. So that's similar for those grand opening style buildings. And then in Exhibit F, these are landscape regulations, but these are not related to artificial turf at all. They really address ground cover and inorganic mulch primarily. So those are just some clarifications in the administration of the code that we felt that we needed. Moving on to Exhibit G for artificial turf. This is an entirely new section related to the regulation of artificial turf. When staff went out and we researched, we looked at requirements of all of our local jurisdictions in Palm Beach County that already permitted this type of application. We also talked to contractors, and we looked at different applications. We kind of came up with a pros and cons list from our understanding. A lot of pros, a lot of cons. Pros are maintains color and appearance. It can't be damaged by pest. It's lower water, lower maintenance. There's no traditional fertilizer or pest control treatments. And some of the new products are much less toxic than products that were previously on the market. Especially there are products now that do not require crumb rubber fill, which was quite controversial. And that is basically old ground tires. So some products are made from recycled materials, and it can be semi-pervious when installed correctly. Other negatives are it can be worn or damaged down with time. Artificial turf is quite hot in almost any style of material that we've seen. It can be 50 to 100 degrees hotter than ambient air temperature. Grass would maybe be 30 to 40 degrees hotter, just for comparison. So it's a substantial increase in temperature over what a grass or pavement product would be. So you do have to cool it with water. Regular washing and raking is required. Just like things absorb in your yard, in your grass, and your landscaping, they don't absorb through the artificial turf. So you do need to rake it and monitor animal and pet hair accumulation. Some products can leach into soils. Specific concerns, there's some lower quality products that are coming out of East Asia. There are standards that staff had created in the draft text to limit the application or prohibit the application of those types of products. Artificial turf also itself, we don't know of any artificial turf that is recyclable. It can be made from recycled materials, but the turf itself is a landfill product at this time. It is also not fully pervious. And if it is installed incorrectly, it may actually pool water and can contribute to mosquitoes. So what we did is we kind of looked at the three kind of questions. If we're going to allow it, where should it be allowed? how should it be maintained and permitted, and what quality of material should be required to be allowed to be utilized within the city. And you can see here kind of the 3 examples that we thought of, and if we wanted to allow it, where could it potentially be allowed? One was kind of in these driveway strip configurations. Another was obviously on decks, on rooftop decks, and the others would be as part of planned developments. Maybe there were some common space areas, and I believe it has been allowed in one common area in a planned development in the city. So the where. The other thing that we talked about is single family duplex properties in the rear yard only, not visible from the right of way. If it's going to be in the front yard, we said, okay, maybe between parking strips in the front yard. And we were thinking more of these non-conforming properties where there was a large area of paved surface to kind of green up the property. And this would be a threshold of 60% of the front yard would be paved. And again, should be approved by the DRO. On rooftop terraces, obviously, as I mentioned previously, and as part of the planned development, and a recreation or an amenity area. Where it should not be is it should not be installed in any landscape buffer or landscape area required by this article. What we've determined conclusively in our research is that artificial turf is not landscaping. It is not a live material. So it really is a product to be used in lieu of a pavement product or some other type of material like that. It may not be used within any permanent drainage features. It simply does not drain at the same capacity as soil or grass, and it should not be used in any public rights of way. Okay, getting back to the how. We felt like a landscape permit should be mandatory, required with 2 inspections. Really, in order for artificial turf to be functional, it has to be installed properly, and the underlayment material is critical to the function of how pervious the material is, and does it meet the specifications that come with the product. Again, we'd want an affidavit of maintenance from the property owner because it is a product that needs to be maintained. It can tear, those types of things. A barrier needs to be required between artificial turf and landscaping. The landscaping can severely damage the turf and cause it to not function appropriately. And then subsurface materials specifications we wanted to create specifically that the crumb rubber material is not permitted. That definitely, it links back to some of those concerns of the old style of artificial turf where leaching was a concern into soils. And again, what were we going to regulate? We wanted to have some a test standards. We wanted a quantitative standard. The standard that we came up with, and this is used in several jurisdictions within Palm Beach County, is that it can be disposed of under normal conditions at a U.S. landfill station. And that regulates lead and other types of materials. Again, it should have appearance standards. It should be green, lifelike, have a minimum pile height and a minimum tufted weight. It should have a 10-year warranty as a minimum to ensure that it's a quality product. And then it needs to meet the drainage standards of the particular site. So that concludes my presentation. So there's really kind of these 2 parts of the discussion, and you just let me know how you want to split that up.
City Manager, can we, just as the other boards have done at this time, if we wanted to pursue this further and get some more community involvement, could we approve this as Commissioner Robinson had suggested earlier without this item in and bring that back as a workshop?
Madam Mayor, yes, you can go ahead and do that. I just think that staff's recommendation is when the item is written, it recommended the December 1st date to bring it back. I think it would be advisable to remove that date and allow us to schedule
A separate workshop?
bring it back separately.
Okay, well, so we can get the community involvement in it and get them to participate in that workshop.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Vice Mayor Pro Tem?
I understand where we're going with this, but I do have to ask the question. What is the genesis of artificial turf even being talked about? And why, what prompted this conversation?
I think a lot more homeowners are choosing it because of drought conditions and inability and landscaping and ease of it. other people move, a lot of people are moving in from other cities, states and towns, and they have used this product in their prior homes. And I think more people are looking to use it as a form of ease to maintenance.
I guess maybe I should ask it a different way. You know, how many people have come forward and said, I want to put artificial turf on my property?
I would think that probably more people don't ask to put it, thinking that it's not. I don't know, Erin, what would you say?
Well, it has been brought up at several commission meetings. I know Commissioner Robinson mentioned it several times. It doesn't matter to staff if we talk about it now or later. It's really up to the discretion of the commission. You know, I know that we have seen applications of it in full front yard applications without permits, and we have no idea if those were installed appropriately or meet drainage standards. They certainly don't, because when the plans were approved, they were approved for soil and not for artificial turf, and they've replaced their entire yards with turf. So there's definitely some, I guess some people just installing it without permission.
Go ahead.
So getting back to my question about the genesis, so is this an effort to codify in some way that we have a standard for artificial turf rather than just saying, look, you can't have artificial turf?
Commissioner Maxwell, that's essentially the genesis. If the commission is open to supporting artificial turf and at the request of Robinson to have this brought forward, I think he's asked for it the last 3 times we had LDR discussions. We put this together in the most efficacious way we could based on the input that we had. As Aaron mentioned, neither advisory board, P&Z, or the Historic Preservation Board were supportive of this as it is. I do think it requires more neighborhood discussion. It's not something that's really overly pressing. I can only think of like 5 or 6 houses that may have their whole front yard in artificial turf, and only 2 or 3 have been brought forward as complaints from code compliance. And we've just held off on dealing with that until we have some direction from the city commission. But I think a workshop is appropriate at your pleasure whenever you want to schedule that.
I think what I'm feeling and sensing here is that we're trying to come up with a regulation that would allow it potentially, as opposed to just saying, look, we're not interested in getting into the artificial turf business. I'm not interested in seeing artificial turf anywhere in the city, frankly. You know, unfortunately, I've got a neighbor of mine who's got his front yard in artificial turf. I just don't want us to get into that. I'm not comfortable with that at all. And I'm not sure why we've spent so much time on this to get to this point.
To me, it's something that I think needs to be vetted with the community, because it's becoming more of a builder option and a home option for people. I mean, but to me, the tough part about this conversation is more the environmentally friendly decisions that we're going to have to make in reference to infrastructure, you know, in the future with sea level rise, and watching just what happened in the recent floods and things that came up. You know, we've got a lot of solutions to make, and some of those laws that we used to look at. In fact, I looked at 9 years ago and used to think, who cares if it's a paver, a concrete slab, or this or that. Now dealing with sea level rise, man, it makes all the difference in the world how water siphons through your neighborhood, in your backyard, in your house, and you're there. You know, I'm appreciating bringing this to the forefront, because we're going to start having to put those thoughts and FEMA maps and all kinds of things into our future plans for things that we allow. But I think bringing it back and bringing some of those experts in and talking about the products so people understand why we have this rule. It doesn't have to be right away if you want to bring it back in the new year or whatever, but it's a conversation that should be had. I think that whatever.
Okay.
We don't have to have Vice Mayor.
So in one of the other slides, Aaron, you had mentioned mulch. Is it take out rubber mulch? Are we eliminating rubber mulch from our
Right. So rubber mulch was never expressly permitted. So we just really wanted to clarify that rubber mulch, or, folks had questions that they wanted to use ground up tires as mulch. And it's, and there's environmental, and we did not permit that. And we just really wanted to clarify that in the LDRs. That was an addition. There was an opportunity. We needed a standard. Really, why we went into that section of the code is we really needed a standard for ground cover when we're giving recommendations for folks who are maybe having some code issues, and they need a standard to provide ground cover, how many plants per area to ensure coverage. And because we were in there, we also clarified what inorganic mulch meant, and that it did not mean crumb rubber.
Okay, because on an overall, excuse me, I agree with Madam Mayor, on an overall environmental standard, and the way we've been looking at it is to make sure that, we're putting in enough ground coverage that, and at one point I even asked about what would be landscape that likes water. We know that, we're having 100-year storms every 10 years instead of every 100 years. And what landscape can we look at that will not hold the water, that if it's plants and trees, they like the water, they will absorb the water. How fast can we get it back into the aquifer? I'm very concerned with turf, that it's not going to do what we need it to do in the city of Lake Worth Beach, especially after the recent flooding and everything. We heard from neighbors that said, well, they built their house up and it flooded my house. What does this do if you've got an entire backyard covered in it? It's not obviously not going to, I'm not the specialist here, but like the mayor said, I think we should have more conversation and get some of the professionals that know it. I'm not necessarily, I don't have a problem with the little strips and the balconies and the things that people called me on. But the idea of putting this in somebody's backyard or in a completely new development scares me, on behalf of, the environment, on what it can do and or, will stop the water from doing. So,
So the motion that was made, does the motion include this item or not?
I made the motion, and I believe, Aaron, if I remember right, you kept it as a separate piece that could be removed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought when we created this ordinance that this item would need more discussion, would eventually find its own path. And so we constructed the ordinance so that the artificial turf could be separated out. So if you, I'm going to pull up the motion, if you just give me a second, and this will be the motion excluding the artificial turf, the potential motion. Hold on one second.
Okay.
So she's cutting the artificial grass? She's not going to irrigate it.
Excuse me, 1 second. Nope. Hold on 1 second.
I might have it. Hold on.
It didn't want to go where I wanted it. There we go. This is the potential motion. This would be a motion to approve or disapprove, and you would say excluding Exhibit G related to artificial turf.
Okay, so I amend my motion to exclude Exhibit G related to artificial turf.
Second.
And seconded.
There's no public comment on this.
Hold on. Yeah, everything has a public comment under new business. So the motion was made, Commissioner Vice Mayor, by you, and it was seconded by you. It was seconded by Commissioner Robinson. Okay, you have a question?
I do. I've got to tell you, I'm a little bit caught off guard by this. I don't understand why, if the anticipation was that this was going to be a big deal, that we had to have a workshop on it, why didn't we have the workshop before it was included into this ordinance? That's number one. And number two, is there something I'm missing here? Is there a project pending or something going on in the community that caused us to come to the surface? And number three, I can't ever remember of having an ordinance presented to us with an alternative to strike one part of the ordinance written into the recommended motion. So I'm a little confused. There's something going on here with this artificial turf. And I'd really like to know what it is.
Commissioner Maxwell, as I mentioned earlier, we were requested at the last 3 LDR discussions, when were we going to deal with artificial turf, specifically by Commissioner Robinson. So we put this together so we would not be asked again what was happening with artificial turf. And so because it became controversial as we moved forward, we gave you the option to either approve it now or delay it and bring it back as a workshop. And there's no project it's pending. There are no code compliance issues really on the forefront where there's someone waiting for this. We're trying to give you options and move things forward and address the requests of the commission.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Just one final comment, William, and that is, it just seems to me that while I respect the idea that you're responding to Commissioner Robinson, then why didn't we act on this in the negative and say it's prohibited?
Well, it's already prohibited now. It's not
Okay,
allowed.
Then well, again, what am I missing?
The request was to bring something forward that would actually allow it in some place in the city.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, I don't know. This is an issue that obviously, Mayor, you've heard from different people. Commissioner, you've heard from different people. And Commissioner Maxwell, apparently you're just opposed outright to say no to artificial turf. There are people that want it. I appreciate staff fine tuning it and giving, a little bit of education on the pros and cons. So I think that the community and our decision should warrant a little more education and public input. It's an environmental issue. It's a development issue in terms of developers. It might be an overreach of regulating what you can do in your own backyard, sort of thing. So I'm good with having putting this off, and the staff has just made it easier. We've had ordinances before that we've amended verbally without calling it out item for item, but we've in the past made adjustments to ordinances, and I appreciate the specifics of item G being able to be pulled. Just saying no is easy. I think the topic should be explored more. That's all.
Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comment cards?
We do. And I have to set the timer because these two are long and they were only allowed 2 minutes.
Okay.
This first card is from Gail Silverblatt. I'm very concerned about the proposed ordinance allowing artificial turf within the city for aesthetic and environmental reasons. The aesthetic reasons are the artificial look of the product. You can tell immediately it's fake grass. Grass blades are identical in height, thickness, color, and spacing. The artificial turf installation seems to have a fold as it ends at the sidewalk if it's tucked under. Property where it covers the entire front yard appears to have a crease in the middle and a seam halfway across the front yard. Will the city code officers have to spend time going around the city inspecting flaws in installation and maintenance? Wouldn't it just be easier not to allow it in the city at all? As for my reasons about the environmental concerns of artificial turf, I have many. The planning staff has provided a pro versus con slide. One of the problems they have pointed out is the temperature of the turf is 50 to 100 degrees hotter than ambient air temperature. One of the locations planning staff is recommending it to be installed is on rooftops. Seems like without total shade coverings, it would be as hot as the beach sand in the middle of July. The staff report continues the cons by stating it can be damaged, torn, or worn down with heavy foot traffic, yet it is not recyclable. It requires regular washing and raking to clean off dirt, odor, pet hair, and dog waste. It doesn't seem like a good use for a pet poop area in multi-residential developments, and living sod would be better used in this area. The staff report says it's semi-permeable, yet the West Palm Beach ordinance says it's impermeable and comparable to concrete. Real lawn and plants absorb carbon dioxide from the air and release oxygen. Artificial turf doesn't. The landscape ordinance has encouraged the use of living ground cover and native grasses used in lieu of sod to lessen the demand for water. The use of artificial turf would increase the use of water. Okay, sorry. The next letter is from Ginny Powell. Here are her specific comments. It's plastic and therefore a petroleum-based product. We should be doing all we can to eliminate plastics, not add to them. It is not biodegradable. While it may be made with some recycled material, the final product, once it's ready for disposal, must go to a landfill. Our landfills are already getting full and the new ones are extremely difficult to cite. Plastic waste is already a problem all over the country and the world. We need to produce less, not more. It creates pollution and waste in the manufacturing process. Synthetic turf surfaces have substantially higher surface temperatures than natural turf grasses. Surface temperatures of synthetic turf can be 93 degrees on a day when the air temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. South Florida now has days with the heat index well over 100 degrees. Heat transfer from the surface can contribute to psychological stress that may result in health-related problems. McNitt and Petronic, 2006. Especially when the synthetic turf fields were newer, rubber granules often contained polycyclic aromatic carbohydrates at levels above health-based soil standards. The levels of pHs generally appeared to decline as the fields aged. However, the decay trend may be complicated by adding new rubber granules to compensate for the loss of the material. This doesn't even consider the underlying soil sand, which would likely become completely sterile or dead with no living flora or fauna. Zinc contents were found to far exceed the soil limit. A limited scoping level field monitoring system of synthetic turf fields by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I'm sorry, that's the end of her comments for that one. Sorry. But that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We've got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinance number 2020-17. City Attorney, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-17, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the official zoning map by approving the creation of a mixed-use urban planned development district located at 1216, 1220, 1230, and 1310 Lake Avenue in 1207, 1209, 1211, 1213, 1215, and 1401 Lucerne Avenue, consisting of approximately 1.1 acres, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, that is located within the mixed-use East MU-E zoning district with a future land use designation of mixed-use-East MU-E that includes the specific development standards described in Exhibit B, approving a conditional use permit, approving density and height bonus incentives through the city's sustainable bonus incentive program, approving a major site plan for the construction of a mixed-use urban planned development consisting of 41 residential units, including 10 live-work units, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
So moved.
By the Vice Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Do you have a presentation, William?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to introduce Andrew Meyer, our senior planner, who's been leading the charge on this project, and he'll give a presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. Welcome.
Thank you. Can everyone see the presentation and hear me clearly?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. For the record, this is Andrew Meyer, Senior Community Planner, and I will be presenting new business item B, first reading of Ordinance 2020-17. Ordinance 2020-17 is for the consideration of a mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan with sustainable bonus, and conditional use to construct two-phase multifamily development with live-work units, generally known as Village Flats, located between Lake and Lucerne Avenues west of Dixie Highway. As stated earlier, the subject sites are located between Lake and Lucerne Avenues, and more specifically between North C and North F streets, as can be seen on the map. Timothy Carey of Inhabit Property Group is requesting to build a two-phase, 41-unit multifamily development, which includes 10 live-work units. This project is the result of RFP 01-1819, initiated by the Lake Worth Beach CRA for affordable market rate housing to be located on CRA-owned property between Lake and Lucerne Avenues and North C and North F streets. As such, Inhabit Property Group is requesting the following approvals: a mixed-use urban plan development to construct a two-phased live, work, and multifamily residential development, a major site plan for the development of new live, work, and multifamily residential buildings in excess of 7,500 square feet, a sustainable bonus incentive program to meet the requirements of a mixed-use urban plan development and gain an increase in overall density to 37.5 units per acre, and an increase in height to 4 stories and 48.67 feet, and a conditional use permit to establish mixed-use master plan greater than 7,500 square feet, inclusive of townhomes and live-work units. This map shows the location of the project juxtaposed on the city zoning map. You'll see that the project is located within the mixed-use East zoning district and is surrounded by properties also located in the mixed-use East zoning district. In the past, the lots contained a mix of single-family and multifamily uses. However, they have since been demolished. Today, these lots exist as vacant lots. Village Flats proposal consists of 2 phases. Phase 1 will be located along North E Street between Lake and Lucerne Avenues and just west of the Urban Arts Loft development, and will contain 2 buildings. Building 1 is a 4-story building located on the north side of the site, which will contain 24 units, 5 of which will be live work. Building 2 is a 3-story building located at the southwest corner of the site and will contain 6 units. Phase 2 will be located among 2 sites, each located at 1310 Lake Avenue and 1401 Lucerne Avenue. 1310 Lake Avenue will contain Building 3, which will be 3 stories in height and contain 6 units, while 1401 Lucerne Avenue will contain Building 4, which will consist of 5 2-story live-work townhomes. As mentioned earlier, Phase 1 consists of 2 buildings, Building 1 and Building 2, each with 24 and 6 units respectively. Building 1 will contain 5 live-work units on the ground floor. These live-work units are oriented towards Lucerne Avenue to promote walkability and access from the major thoroughfare. Building 2 will contain 6 dwelling units and face North E Street. The parking is located towards the center of the property in alignment with the city's major thoroughfare design guidelines. Phase 2 also consists of 2 buildings. Building 3 at 1310 Lake Avenue will contain 6 dwelling units. Building 4 at 1401 Lucerne Avenue will contain 5 live-work townhomes. These units are oriented towards Lake and Lucerne Avenues to promote walkability, and parking is located in the rear of each site, which helps protect pedestrians walking along the major thoroughfares from conflicting automobile traffic. Phase 2 is currently conceptual. Conditions have been proposed which will require the applicant to apply for a minor site plan amendment to finalize the design of Phase 2 prior to the building permit phase. Staff found the proposal to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, strategic plan, major thoroughfare design guidelines, and the city's land development regulations. In addition, multiple new multifamily projects have been approved or are in review or upcoming along the Lake and Lucerne Avenue corridor, including 1305 Lucerne Avenue, 15 North E Street, 1017 Lake Avenue, 1505 Lucerne Avenue, and the Circle properties. The table on the right shows the development regulations for the site and how it compares to both phases 1 and 2. As stated earlier, both phases were found to be generally consistent with the city's land development regulations. The creation of a mixed-use urban plan development allows for the developer to customize land development regulations that are applicable to the project site, which provide flexibility to allow more creative and attractive development in the city. Staff created a table analyzing the project's consistency with the base zoning district regulations. The 3rd and 4th floor setbacks, balcony setbacks, and townhouse building length are areas where the project will differ from the base regulations. The applicant's justification for these deviations are in attachment C of the packet. A summarized version is on pages 7 through 8 of the Planning and Zoning Board staff report. In summary, the site, inclusive of both phases, are surrounded by a mixture of multifamily residences, commercial, and vacant properties. As such, the proposed development is in harmony with the existing mixture of uses in the immediate area. On October 7th, 2020, the Planning and Zoning Board reviewed the project and unanimously recommended that the project be approved by the City Commission with conditions outlined in Exhibit C of the ordinance. The applicant submitted revised plans on October 20th, 2020 to address minor comments raised by the Planning and Zoning Board, including additional signage detail. The revised plans were reviewed by staff for consistency with the Planning and Zoning Board comments and are included in attachment C. Staff has provided a potential motion for your consideration. And this concludes my presentation. The applicant will now be presenting a supplemental presentation on the project.
Andrew, is it just Tim?
It will be just him for the
Okay.
For the applicant's presentation. Thank you, Keith. Just give me 1 second to pull up the presentation. All right, Tim, whenever you're ready.
Let's just make sure that Tim is unmuted.
Yeah, Tim.
Can everyone hear me?
Now we can. Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, City Commissioners. My name is Tim Carey, and on behalf of my partners, Bob Schmier and Norman Weinstein, I'm excited to present tonight for this opportunity to deliver a beautiful project for the city, which we believe will further extend foot traffic and economic activity throughout the historic core of the city. Most importantly, though, we're very excited to deliver a project that we feel the city can be truly proud of. The following is just a brief presentation of how we believe the Village Flats will stand out and improve the immediate area. As you can see here on the first slide, this is the front elevation of Building 1. And we really feel that we're going to bring an eclectic mix here of buildings that haven't been seen before. Andrew, if you could then slide over to slide 2, please. So as Andrew mentioned, this was awarded through RFP 01-1819 back in 2019. And before we even bid for the project, we were really encouraged by the great work that the city has done and the CRA with projects such as the art lofts and the surrounding area. We're confident that our project will deliver the next piece along the extension of the city's urban core and the Lake and Lucerne corridor. As Andrew mentioned, it's important to us that we meet the criteria that was set out for the RFP by providing affordable market rate residential units along with live work units that'll drive small businesses and foot traffic to the downtown area. But as you can see, hopefully from the pictures and the renderings that we've provided, we're also hoping to develop an aesthetically pleasing project that's well designed and incorporates green and sustainable building elements while still meeting the city's mixed-use zoning regulations and major thoroughfare design guidelines. Andrew, slide 3, please. Slide 3 just relates to the phase 1 units, 41 total units, a mix of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and live work units, which we'll speak about in a little bit here. As I may have noted, we think that they have solid square footage. On average, our 1-1s are 700 square feet, 2-2s are 1,041 square feet. Based on my experience renovating, owning, and operating small multifamily throughout Lake Worth Beach, I understand how much larger units are, how much larger these units are than a lot of the units that are in the market right now in Lake Worth. And I can appreciate how good design can make a good size unit feel even larger. And we think that's what we've hit upon here. Like the exterior finishes you've seen before in the renderings, the finishes inside will be modern and contemporary and further improve the Lake Worth Beach rental market. In addition, We've got outdoor amenities and, most importantly, ample on-site parking with limited gate access. In addition, the green sustainable features which I added, and we believe we're going to have, we'll provide high-end, market rate affordable housing. I cannot emphasize that enough. Andrew, if
I'm
you would
sorry,
slide.
would you excuse me for one moment? Staff, our Zoom photos were on top of the rendering and I couldn't see the extent of the last rendering. You know what I mean? Our heads. See, I couldn't see the
Can you move
the diagram.
the sidebar out of the way?
We don't need no sidebars,
We don't need to see the other.
faces.
Where is he?
Are you able to see it now?
No.
No.
He.
There should be a little line on the commission computer that minimizes those sidebars.
Alfonso has it.
Yeah, Alfonso's doing it right now.
Thank you.
Perfect. I'm sorry, just didn't get a chance to see the design.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
So Andrew, let's stay on slide 3 just briefly as long as we're here. And I'd also like to note that in each unit, you'll find washer dryers, walk-in showers, tile backsplash, granite countertops, and 9-foot ceilings throughout. These are brand new developed units, all at an affordable price. And most importantly, they're in an area that we believe is hungry for new development. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, it's priced at an affordable market rate for new Lake Worth Beach residents. Andrew, slide 4, please. So slide 4, we just kind of wanted to highlight here that it also has a pocket park with amenities such as a dog track, benches, open trellis for shade, and plenty of shade through some of the trees that we have designed here. As you may have noticed on the site plan or perhaps Google Earth, if you looked at the property before, this particular piece is in the shape that we call the horseshoe shaped property. And it does have some constraints, and we think it may have caused some concern from other people who may have looked at the site. In contrast, we really leaned into this site and we felt like we were going to get the most out of each individual lot. And with that in mind, our building 1 design and the pocket park, we believe, really gets the most out of the horseshoe shaped lot. And we believe it'll be a nice amenity provided at an affordable rate for new residents to this area. Andrew, if you could then move over to slide 5, please. So I mentioned the live work units and I wanted to hit upon them again. Slides 5 and 6 will actually show you what the live work units not only look like, but also what some of the features are. As Andrew might have noted, this particular RFP was partially financed by NSP2 funds, and as such, live work units are a requirement of this project. As it so happens, the live work units are an aspect of this project that we're quite excited about. We really like the units that we've designed. Each unit is provided a large patio, front and rear access, and as we'll see shortly, we've developed some smart signage, which we believe will help entrepreneurs with walk-up customers and better foot traffic. Andrew, if you would just then slide to the 6th slide. So as I've noted, we think that we're going to see increased foot traffic. We'll show you the signage in a bit here, or at least the proposed signage. Phase 1 is going to have 5 of the live work units, which you just saw on the last slide, which will be between 715 and 723 square feet. Whereas in phase 2, we've got much larger units, which will be townhomes, somewhere in the vicinity of 3 beds, 2 baths, or perhaps 3 2.5s. Also live work units, which will comply with the requirement of the NSP2 fund. As we've also noted, it's been mentioned several times this evening, COVID has affected how we've all lived our lives and kind of had to manage through it all. With that said, we believe that working from home may decrease in the near term, but it may become a bigger element going forward as we know it. And as with that in mind, we believe the Village Flats live work units will provide huge benefits for folks who maybe work from home permanently or several days a week. The front door signage, which you'll see in a second, will provide entrepreneurs with a way to broadcast who they are and what they provide in terms of services. And the wayfinding signs will provide curb appeal for current customers and walk-up customers. As I've mentioned, it's front and rear access for customers or to simply block off the flow of traffic through the unit for the entrepreneur. And there'll be gated front entry patio, which will provide private space for customers to wait during the day, or perhaps a place for tenants to entertain at night. Andrew, if you could then move over to slide 6, which really shows what the tenant signage we've designed looks like. It'll allow tenants to put a front-facing piece of sign up above their unit, which will provide easy access for pedestrians to see along the sidewalk. And then we can also see, Andrew, what we're talking about in terms of the wayfinding if we move to slide 7, I believe. We looked at this from a few different angles, and we looked at some of the live work units in the area, and we looked at some other live work units throughout Florida. Some had signs that were right outside the gate, and as we walked down the street there on Lucerne, we were concerned about confusing people or trying to make sure everyone understood where each service was. And in the end, this solution was, I think, the best thing that we developed. So with that said, this should give people a good sense of where they're headed as they reach this address. Andrew, next slide, please. Just wanted to give one more shot of of the first rendering, perhaps with those wayfinding signs in mind. I think you can kind of picture now where those signs might be loaded above the first floor's front door and first window, and then where the wayfinding sign might be loaded in the middle of the building. Next slide, Andrew. Also wanted to get bigger shots, I should say, than what Andrew provided of what the renderings look like for building 3 and building 4. This would be building 3 here, 611 units that are loaded on the front of Lake Ave. Andrew, feel free to go to slides 7 or 8. I forget what we're on now. And these are the townhomes, fairly large townhomes that are right on Lucerne. They'll also have rear entry, back patio, and as you can see, balconies up front, along with a front patio as well. These will be the live work units. So inside there will be space for offices and front customer entry. And then of course, plenty of space upstairs and in back for families or tenants and residents to live. With that, Andrew, next slide. I'm available for any questions or concerns. And again, thank you very much for the time to present tonight and for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, a couple of questions. That last slide was phase 2?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so what percentage or what number of the income level, when you're calling it affordable, but then it's workforce, market rate?
Yeah, the term we've always been stuck to is
income or restrictions or limits?
No, the term we've always been adhering to is affordable market rate. As I might have mentioned, I've got a number of units throughout Lake Worth, so I've always worked hard to understand what the rental rate is and then stay $100 to $200 under that. I can't adhere to that here and say exactly what our rates are going to be because I just don't know where we'll be in 18 to 22 months or perhaps less. But the key term is affordable market rate.
So are there any restrictions on incomes? Minimum, maximum? No maximum?
No.
Okay. Are you using any exchange programs to do affordable or whatever you're calling it, workforce? I know other builders in the county use an exchange program not to build certain income levels of housing. Is your project going to involve any exchange programs?
No.
Well, for staff, I guess, or for you particularly, have you had any meetings with any residents or neighborhood associations in the vicinity?
I met briefly with one gentleman who was representing a neighborhood at the time, but he is no longer representing that neighborhood. So I should say I've met one person and he's no longer involved. So I guess the short answer would be no.
Okay, and does the CRA or does the city require or encourage public input to any projects of this size? Staff or Tim, do you?
We, as all projects like this, we do send out courtesy notices to all the adjacent and abutting property owners within 400 feet. They're invited to come to the public hearing of the Planning and Zoning Board. They've also been invited to participate in both this meeting and the second hearing when it is undertaken. The CRA's meeting where it endorses is also a public meeting where the public was invited.
To Tim, what businesses do you envision on the street?
Well, my understanding in the live work units that are next door and across the street is that you have everything from artists to massage therapists. We have really no restrictions on anyone who can come in so long as they conform to what the city's codes and regulations are. Accountants, attorneys, you name it, we're in favor of them coming and expanding the foot traffic and economic activity in the city.
So there'll be commercial units then?
That's correct. They have to be.
And do you think arrows will be necessary? I know the wayfinding in the city, we've got a lot of wayfinding signs. I just didn't think the arrows were necessary in the block that you're building to. If you've got signage on above the unit, I just found it more signage. We're pushing the limit of signage with the arrows. Can staff show me where in the major thoroughfare design guidelines a pocket park would be appropriate?
The major thoroughfare guidelines are not going to have anything about where a park is appropriate. The major thoroughfare guidelines do require that the pocket park does have a structure that is at the appropriate setback built back sidewalk, and also they're proposing a fence or a little security measure with a door. And that would meet the goals and aspirations of the major thoroughfare guidelines and providing a pedestrian experience that is both good on the inside of the gate as well as the outside.
But none of it will be open to the public?
Not that pocket park, no.
And has this SEPTED or the security part of having spaces like that been studied or examined or even considered?
Well, we do encourage SEPTED to be included in the design, and I'm sure the final design before it comes in for permitting will have to take those things into account.
So what kind of lighting then? Is that lighting going to be on, off? Is there going to be lighting in it?
Are we going through the design process tonight, or are we just approving is it going to come back to us in reference to the design, William?
The question should be asked tonight. Your first review of it is tonight. And if it's approved tonight, then it will come back to you on December 1st for a final review and approval.
Okay.
Yeah, these are design questions that I'm concerned about. And if they're not asked now, then.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
Scratch our heads after it's built.
Gotcha.
And per code, Commissioner, the parking lot will need to be lit to a certain ambient requirement in order to meet ADA and to be functional. And the lighting for the parking lot does bleed into and provide lighting in the pocket park. So by consequence, the pocket park should be lit 24/7.
Just from the adjacent ambient light.
Well, there's some lighting that is at the very end of the parking. If at the very end of the U, there's parking and then the park, there are lighting standards there that will then also light the park.
I understood the major thoroughfare guidelines to be building rather than a park. It's never going to be open to the public. So why do we have a gate to the public? I don't think it matches with.
There might like to come through that gate on their way home from enjoying drinks and dinner downtown.
So they'll have a key. Is that how it's going to work, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Like the courtyards.
The dumpster is a major part of the E Street side. Is there any consideration for having that more in the center of the project so that it's not a
It's located exactly where public service is requested to be placed for access and for health safety issues.
I can understand the request for ease, but is it the most aesthetic place for a project like this? I mean, I'm glad to see the project, but I don't want to see the possibilities of dumpster appearance bringing it down.
Well, there is a dumpster enclosure required, as well as gates that have to be closed at all times except for when the dumpster is being emptied. If it becomes an issue, which I don't think it will be, it's a management issue for the apartment complex, but then it could become a co-compliance issue where the project will be cited. There was a little bit of discussion about it being farther in, but then the trash truck would have to back out of the development, which is not a preferred access as mentioned by Public Services.
And you're using TDR?
No.
No? So, but we have no idea what's phase there. The incentives that CRA is giving them, do we know the numbers on that in terms of financial incentives?
That would have to be answered by either Ms. Oliva or Tim. I'm not aware of all of them.
So nothing has been agreed to yet in terms of the final economic incentive. We have been providing an agreement and we are in review of that. So I can't really speak to the final number there. And then the only other thing that's been discussed is a city infrastructure for any improvements we would make to sidewalks, alleyways, utilities, or anything else like that. But again, that number is also not final yet. So I know the correct answer then is that it's been discussed, but nothing has been finalized.
So you don't have a contract then with the city CRA to incentivize this yet?
For those particular items, the two that I mentioned, nothing has been executed yet. That is correct.
And will they be tied to phase 2 or not?
Yes, both will potentially be tied to phase 2, depending on how the infrastructure money is utilized.
So the consequences of phase 2 will be the result of phase 1.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Well, I certainly don't want you to lose interest after being incentivized to the max for phase 1, and then I want you to do both.
We're running out of time here. I want to make sure everyone's got questions.
Sorry, I thought these were relatively.
Oh no, they're good questions. I didn't know how much more you have.
It's important that, just to answer the last question, it's important that I dissuade you of any notion whatsoever that phase 2 will be hindered or not completed. I can guarantee that it will be completed. And beyond that, there's really no ability on our end to strip any density or do anything funky with phase 2, because anything that would happen in the future would have to come back to you through an amendment process, which would have public hearings and everything tethered to it. So there's really no fear there of it not happening. One, because it's in our, it kind of has to happen for this project to work. That's the nicest way I can put it.
And I ask the questions because we're not going to be a part of the negotiations from CRA's point. So
I understand.
Just from a city concern, I ask you. Thank you for your time.
Sure,
and good luck. And sooner rather than later is good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Hi, Tim. Vice Mayor Andy Amoroso. Again, we have an award-winning CRA that does great work. I want to thank you, Tim, and your partners for investing in the city of Lake Worth Beach and seeing the value there. And I love the project. So thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with everything you just said.
Me too. We have public comments, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have two. The first one is from Royce Rydland. I'm writing you with concern about a project that's happening between Lucerne and Lake Avenues known as Village Flats. This project appeared at the last planning and zoning meeting as PBZ project number, he gives the number. Consideration of a mixed-use urban plan development, major site plan with sustainable bonus and conditional use permit to construct two-phase multifamily development with live-work units, generally known as village flats. I own the property at 1302 Lake Avenue, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Currently, I have a tenant there with a very successful business selling tortillas and takeout food. I also know that there are other businesses across the street and new ones that are being planned in the area. To this end, I cannot understand why the Village Flats project has placed a dumpster directly facing the street where my tenant's food business is. The dumpsters in Lake Worth are horrible when they're placed away from properties they serve. The refuse department may try their best, and they are supposed to be covered with doors, but the dumpsters are often just dumping grounds for people passing by and building dwellers that do not care about the filth, smell, and vermin that go around it. I've attached several existing dumpsters around town. He's attached pictures of several existing dumpsters around town and how they are kept day to day. The more successful solution is when the dumpster is closer to the apartments, or in this case, off the street and about 5 cars deep or more into the parking that's for the building. By putting the dumpsters in a parking area closer to the buildings, this will ensure that the dumpster area is kept clean. Having the dumpster outside will make the entire area a dirty, unattractive place for business and future pedestrians that may want to shop or use the street, from jogging to dog walking to eating out at a future cafe. I don't know anyone or any business that would find this feature acceptable. Should the refuse department object because it's easier access, I would remind them where they get their paychecks from, and if the town is empty for business, they too will suffer from less revenue created. The refuse department needs to step up service and do their job to keep a clean environment, even if it's walking a few extra steps to collect the garbage. Respectfully, I respectfully ask that the dumpster at the proposed Village Flats be moved out of the street side and into the development it belongs to for proper care and cleanliness. The next one is from Jin Yu Jin. Dear sirs, I own the property at 1303-05 Lucerne Avenue, Lake Worth Beach. I am writing you with concerns about the project that's happening between Lucerne and Lake Avenues, known as Village Flats. This project appeared at the last planning and zoning meeting as, I just read it, so I won't read it again. I'm developing this property to have apartments and retail stores, which may be restaurants or food outlets, on the ground floor. I came to find out that this development is going to put the garbage for development facing E Street, which would really make it a problem for me to rent my new development to prospective tenants. This would make the entire neighborhood smell and look horrible with rats and other animals. I also looked over the plan presented, and the project is broken into 2 phases, but the second phase is unclear. I would like to know what the benefits the overall development and what role the second phase plays. When does the part of the development start? I cannot believe this is being planned and could get approved without all the details being clear. Please do not place the dumpster at the proposed Village Flats on the street, and move it into the Village Flats where the tenants can take care of their own garbage. And please inform the people of Lake Worth how the entire development is going to work, as the people and abutting business owners have the right to know what's going on. Thank you. Jin Yun Jin. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I know that Commissioner Robinson was talking about that, asking about the dumpster too. Is it a possibility to move, William, the dumpster to the areas that those people are talking about?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe the trash truck would have to back out of the development into E Street in order to access that. And then they would also lose as many as 3 interior parking spaces. And then there will be a parking challenge for them. The best place for it is a well-maintained dumpster that is on the street. And there are some good examples of dumpsters like this in Lake Worth Beach. There are also some bad examples. One of the growing code compliance issues that we have, and it's gotten pretty bad because of code compliance, compassionate care over the past 9 months is a lack of addressing the appropriate maintenance of some of the dumpsters. But there is a joint effort among co-compliance, planning and zoning, preservation as well, and the refuse services to seek out and cite all the people who have dumpster enclosures that are not up to standard and also not being cared for in the appropriate manner.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Any further comment? All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll see you again on December 1st.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to call a brief recess because I'm seeing people get up numerous times and I haven't had a chance to. 5 minutes, guys.
Madam Mayor, are you ready? Keith, are we ready?
We're good on my side. I don't have control of the front end.
Okay, is the mayor, can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
I'm sorry, yes, we're ready.
Oh, okay, good. We're back live.
Okay, let's resume this November 17th, regular city commission meeting. We're gonna move on to item
C.
C, 2020-18. City Attorney, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-18, the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the city's official zoning map from the zoning districts of single-family, two-family residential, SF-TF-14, and multifamily residential 20, MF-20, to mixed-use east, MU-E, on properties generally located north of Lucerne Avenue, south of 2nd Avenue North, and between North A Street and North D Street, and is more particularly described in Exhibit A, and providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Do we have any public comment cards, Madam City Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have one.
Okay.
It's Matthew Van Vorsten, again, writes that he is for this. I totally agree with converting residential zoning into mixed use zoning. Many people operate businesses out of their homes anyway. This allows us to make the best use of the land and reduces our dependency on cars. People will now have the opportunity to start businesses within walking distance of their homes rather than adding to the car traffic that tramples our neighborhood streets every morning and afternoon. And the rest of the neighborhood will be able to get their services that these businesses provide locally rather than having to leave the city. Again, reducing the excessive and destructive car traffic through the neighborhood. Let's keep going in the direction of making our city more walkable and livable. Thank you. That's the end of the comments.
Madam Mayor, I have a staff presentation if you'd like me to proceed.
Oh, you know, I was talking to you and I was on mute. Sorry. I was going, Aaron, William, Aaron.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
So the item before you is a city-initiated rezoning for these 8 properties, and it's rezoning from single-family and two-family and multifamily residential 20 to mixed-use east. Here are the subject sites outlined in red. They're all north of Lucerne Avenue, south of 2nd Avenue North, east of North A Street, and west of North D Street. Moving quickly, you can see some of the existing conditions that are, they have a corresponding table to the map, including the Lake Worth Towers and several places of worship as well. I want to draw your attention to the future land use map. As you can see, and I know sometimes the faces are over, but basically the subject sites are highlighted in red, and they have a future land use designation now of mixed use east. So now I'm going to change it over to the zoning map, and you can see that the zoning does not identically match the underlying future land use designation. One of the properties came in looking to do a business. They could not do a business because they were in single family, two family. It kind of gave us the idea to take a relook at this area and propose the city initiated rezoning. The surrounding properties all have compatible existing uses and zoning districts to this proposed rezoning. This would not, we don't believe this would create any new nonconformities. In fact, it would mitigate nonconformities in the Lake Worth Towers project. It's consistent with the comp plan. It's consistent with the strategic plan. It's consistent with the review criteria for rezoning. All of the changes and regulations are on pages 2 and 3 of the planning and zoning staff report if you'd like to go through the detailed criteria. And in addition, we reached out to all the property owners with a letter in late September. We notified them of the rezoning, public meeting dates. We provided staff contact information to set up a meeting. Several of them contacted us. And most importantly, we gave all the property owners the option to opt out from the proposed city-initiated rezoning. None of the property owners, including the ones we spoke to, selected to opt out of the rezoning. We have a potential motion for your consideration.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to the item that Commissioner Robinson pulled from the consent agenda, which was item M as in Mary. It was the third agreement extension request from 14 South East Coast LLC for property located at 14 South East Coast Street, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. I'll entertain a motion. Well, actually, so moved. Okay, second. Second. Commissioner Robinson, did you want to start as you pulled the item?
Well, I certainly hope that in April, we get to decide about a project and not an extension. This is the third extension, and I don't know what's going on between any negotiations that are going on with CRA, and staff, but the property is paying taxes as is, and I've heard businesses that are interested in going there, but I'm anxious that property get developed one way or the other. And if demolition is part of it, then so be it. But I'm not interested in a fourth extension. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we've got a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to the electric utility consent agenda. Second. Any public comments on the consent agenda from electric utility?
No, Madam Mayor.
Seeing there are none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. City Attorney, do you have a report?
No, Madam Mayor, no report. Thank you.
Okay, City Manager?
Madam Mayor, a couple of things. With the weather events that we have gone through and y'all are very familiar with, both the 24th of October, which really kind of started, and then with Hurricane Eta coming through and causing a lot of rain and water issues. I just wanted to compliment staff. They took a lot of time and effort in prepping and staging and going into emergency mode. Everybody pulled together and I thought did a really good job during ETA. We do have issues in the system and we do have issues obviously because of elevations, but the way the staff responded, everything from proactively getting sandbags together at the known areas we're having problems, staging equipment, cleaning the vegetation piles and the drains and doing a bunch of work to make sure that property and people were safe. And there's a lot of mobilization for staff and across the departments. I really want to express my appreciation to them for the hard work. This year has been a grueling series of events. And we're still not through it, but at least hurricane season is starting to get a little further along. I'm not going to jinx us by saying anything. But I thought that was important to, again, recognize the efforts of staff and everyone who pulled together on that. Because of that, we had to delay the race, equity, and leadership trainings that we were scheduled to have that Monday and Tuesday. And unfortunately, the National League of City staff in Washington, the earliest they could reschedule is in January. So you should find on your calendars the reschedule for January 11th and 12th. And so we're looking forward to, again, getting into that in a time of year where we shouldn't have a rain delay. And that's my report, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, can I ask what the staff involvement is in appointment for District 2?
We were directed by the commission by a vote to bring back after qualifying, which I believe is December
8th.
the 8th. So the next meeting would be December the 15th, an item for consideration to discuss the appointment for District 2.
So it really doesn't require staff input, as Commissioner Maxwell mentioned.
Madam Mayor,
One at a time.
We're following the direction that the commission gave us by vote to bring back an item and to answer any process issues at that time.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
thank you. If I use the word input with respect to staff, I believe we had a discussion that we were to get with the city attorney
Yes.
and find out, what the process and the protocols would be for this. So let's not get confused over the use of the word staff as far as input is concerned.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.